What's up, fellas? Evil Panda here, and today we're going to cover the greatest zoner of all of fighting games, Morgan from Dark. Is that Killer Instinct music? I'm back to, let the truth be told, I feel on fire when my passion flows. What's up, fellas? Patriarch Panda here. I think you guys know what's happening in today's video, which is I'm decided to double dip into a fighting game and cover two characters from the same game, which is something that we haven't done before. The last vid did very well, and it seems like there was a lot of positive feedback for Thunder and another character that was widely asked for because of how sick grapplers are in this game. I'll be a VSF, so I've not really had enough time to prepare for a proper deep dive in another fighting game. If you guys enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe, check out the membership system, and check out the Kofi if you want to help support me. But before we get into the Grappler, it's best I remind you what Killer Instinct is about. And for people that saw the previous video on Thunder, you can skip this bit by skipping to this time using the chapter system. Honestly, if you've seen the previous video, you do not need to see this next bit. But it's time for the game that you're all waiting for. Killer Instinct! Counterbreaker!
Next touch will do it.
Oh my god! Justin Wong goes like... Counterbreaker! Combo
Game is by far one of the coolest fighting games that was severely held back by the console it was held on. Who was buying an Xbox in 2013? No one, and that's including myself. I got the Xbox and I regretted it. Besides that, this game was awesome. It genuinely had absolutely everything that you'd want in a fighting game. It had some of the best OSTs that you've ever heard from a fighting game. It had rollback netcode, a training mirror system where you can find AI that adapts over time. That's right, Tekken and all that. Step aside, Killer Instinct did it first. A full-fledged training mode, which is 100 times better than a lot of the modern ones that you see in like Strive and that. This one had a proper training mode that showed you hitboxes and that. Customization for every character, including colors, cosmetics, you name it. And character variety that honestly rivals Strive with how diverse the roster is in terms of gameplay. And the game had some very fun cameos as well if you're an Xbox kid growing up, like General Raam, Rash, or the Arbiter. Game systems were sick, and that's the main thing that I'm looking forward to getting into. Is like, god damn, the game was sick, never mind playing the characters. It was probably the most interactive fighting game ever, and the announcer, the hype man commentator, made this very well known to you when playing the game. The game told you its mechanics right away. Combo breakers can be done to break a combo by pressing any two buttons that match the button that they press. So for example, if they pressed a medium connector or a medium link, you press your both medium buttons together, like medium punch and kick together, and that'll allow you to break it. So you did the strength to match the strength. If they did a light connector, you did light. You did heavy, you did heavy. And that allowed you to break out of combos, and it didn't use any resources. It was all a free guess 24/7. If you were wrong, you were stuck in a combo and they would call it blockout, basically meaning, uh-oh, Stinky, you didn't guess right, so you had to hold the rest of the combo for a good duration. You could do if you did heavies that would catch the opponent off guard every time, and it was so goddamn saucy. And that was the counter breaker. A counter breaker is where you drop your combo on purpose to be punishable, like a DP punish. You can beat the hell out of this guy to counter a combo breaker. And it is so sick because the game will shout it out, freeze in, and zoom in on your character screaming counter breaker, and you got to do whatever combo you wanted for a good chunk of time. It would also reset the combo gauge, so if you were in a 30 hit combo where the gauge was about to run out, it would start all the way back to 0 and let you cash out even more. The most rawest thing I've seen in a fighting game, to drop your combo on purpose. And that is what this game was about. It was hype moments and aura, but with execution. The game also had a shadow mirror. That's a effectively acted like your supers, except your supers were extremely enhanced versions of your specials. They were super needed. For characters like Jago, this was a good way to cash out when you were in your instinct to heal. Now, speaking about instincts, this was the cool mechanic of the game. Every character had an install, allowing them to power up to their maximum and play to their character's gimmick to full power. Build meter like a madman, kind of like Fulgor here, who has a weird meter system. Some would heal off fireballs, like Jago mentioned before. This was a big thing for him, as that allowed him to stay in the fight for longer. Or one could resurrect themselves upon death, screaming, "I'm not done yet," as he punches the ground, slamming back the enemy. And I have to admit, this was my main when I first started the game. TJ Combo is the most unrivaled hype man I've ever played in my life. Round system is also sick. The health bar is what would carry over. Basically, if you knocked someone out and won that round, they would go into their second health bar and you would stay on your first health bar with the green. If you won with this green, the game would also give you a different victory called the Supreme Victory. It meant that you didn't give up much, and the only difference with having your health bar being in the green compared to red was none. It was a flex. It showed that you didn't die, you didn't get hit much. And this was actually a cool way to make it so games didn't feel as long as with other fighting games. When you win the round, both of you reset back to your first health bar. So this was like a very unique mechanic that kind of punished people for losing a round, but at the end of the day, if you knock them off their first health bar, they move right straight down to their second one. The one thing, if you wanted to do the ultimate finish, you had to be in the green health bar. And if you got to that, you got to do a super specific finisher to kill your opponent. And some of these range from pretty cool to, oh my god, look at those animations. They're so beautiful, they're so cool. And they had a ton of variants to them, but unfortunately not every character got an ultimate. Sad as it is to say. One thing that you can do to disrespect the hell out of your opponent was the ultras. If you landed a combo and the opponent was in this health bar, you could end the round right there and then by doing an ultra and stopping. However, big however, you could let the ultra rock and try to do a pickup again, let the ultra rock, try to do a pickup again, let the ultra rock. You can make your opponent sit there for 1 minute and 40 seconds watching a 200 hit combo. This game is awesome. Stuck with the mentality the Mortal Kombat devs did, which was if you want to disrespect upon someone, instead of having a dizzy mid-game like Street Fighter does, in this game they decided to give you the dizzy after you won the game, which again, fun design. There's a reason why we like fatalities, there's a reason why we like the ultra combo system. And that's Killer Instinct. This game has so much goddamn potential and energy and hype. It's genuinely the coolest game ever in terms of just that raw hype energy, and there was a ton of interactivity. Potential to make the comeback. But it is now time for the grappler of today's video. The 10-foot demon, the Locust leader, General Raam. General Raam is unique for these videos. He's the first guest character grappler that we're covering in this video, where I had to look at other games' lore to understand anything about the guy. And obviously the game that he stems from is Gears of War. Really sick shooter, cover shooter, very fun to play, one of my favorites. I'll talk about how he ended up in Killer Instinct, but I want to talk about Raam as a character before that, so you understand his character, all of his stuff before we get into the nitty and gritty of his gameplay. Raam is a warrior that serves as queen and doesn't speak much unless it's needed. He's clever as he would listen into comms to plan attacks against the cogs, who are the good guys of the game. This guy was outcasted by his own people for having crazy good ideas to better combat for his people. After this, he basically said, alright, hold my beer, went insane in the combat in terms of the lore, the comics and all that. He went crazy, he just took out everybody. He was a massive impact against the War of the Gears and all that. He eventually became one of the loyal guards to the Queen. He popped off, and when it came to the lore, there's a ton to read. So if you're interested in Gears of War lore, I recommend it as it's a fun wee read. When Raam joined Killer Instinct, he didn't have any lore whatsoever. There's no story, there's no lore, there's no relevance to why he's here. He's just here. So, because of this, I'm gonna have a little bit of fun, and I'm gonna create a story for you to believe why he's in Killer Instinct. So I'm making it up, we're gonna have a bit of fun. So basically, in this timeline, he was able to kill Dom and Marcus instead of dying in that final scene, but on his conquest to take Earth for Locust Command, he was isekai'd here by Gargos. And Gargos, thinking that he would join his side during the Shadow War that took part in Season 3, Raam, being a man of his queen and only his queen, turned the blade to Gargos, claiming that this Earth will be in Locust Command. Fighting with every ounce that he could, obviously wanted to go after Gargos, but he was never allied to any other party like the Jago party or anything like that. He was his own party, and you had to check him in the story mode, otherwise if he won, Earth would fall to the command of the Locusts, leading to a bad ending. That's my story. I hope you enjoyed, right? I had a little bit of fun, right? Like writing the idea of how he could be here, and that is the best I could come up with. But before we head into his positives and how he functioned in terms of gameplay, I think it's best if we cover the negatives right away. That way we can talk about what was fun about the character. Again, KI was such a sick game, you could cook with any character, and this character was a bit on the weaker side. We're talking like maybe mid tier to maybe bottom low tier, but you can cook with him, do not worry. Classic to be sure. The first negative, we already know it, I need to say this about every goddamn grappler we cover, so maybe that's a hint towards another grappler I cover at some point. He was big and slow. He was super slow, he was super big, meaning he could be mixed up to death. It's very easy to hit this guy with fuzzies. His crouch height is a bit the same height as some of the other characters of the game, because he's 10 foot, he's a big fella. His walk speed is even slower than Thunder, and if you remember the Thunder walk speed, this guy is way slower. Way slower to play. This game did not have different health values, meaning if he got hit for a lot of damage, and there wasn't much he could do about it. His neutral was okay, nothing really stood out. It was a lot of guessing in neutral, honestly, using a lot of your special moves to approach, and that was about it. That's all you really had. This guy's neutral was a none. At least Thunder had a low chop and at least Thunder had a dash. He didn't have that. He kind of had to make random guesses here and there. Next problem was being combo breakers. He had the same problem as Thunder, but it was even worse due to having easy tools to see and break. He only had one linker and 3 autos, meaning the point to break is very clear to the opponent, whereas with someone like Thunder, there's like 8 million mix-ups you need to pay attention to. Means when playing the character, you had to make reads with counter breaker a ton. That was the only way to check combo breakers as playing Raam. Also, he was extremely weak to throw gaps. If he had an opportunity where he could be thrown and it was a gap, you would do that. It was very good to actually beat Raam, as this was a good way to Barry out of a bad situation. And against a character like Rash, this is awful because his throw has full control where he can put the opponent wherever he wants and essentially get away. Meaning, you're stuck in the corner, Grappler, and I'm gone. This list is very short, but this really did hold him back. He had an insanely difficult time trying to play into the game with these weaknesses. Like, you being a Grappler, being weak to throw, feels awful. The only way for him to call out those type of throw gaps was to either do a shimmy or go for kind of like raw plays. You had to be on point, you couldn't give him that gap. But that's the thing though, Raam had amazing comeback potential, so let's get straight into his positives. What made Raam so nutty? Came to the character's positives, here's it as a synopsis. He is great at being suffocating and setting up for damage over time. We'll get into how he does that, don't worry, it's very fun. It's very fun how they do it. He has insanely high damage, and his instinct allows for insane comeback potential with screen cluttering abilities. He also has a powerful command grab that comes out faster, unlike Thunder's, meaning he has a traditional grappler command grab with a twist. And to get straight into his command grab, it'll do solid damage, but if it had this gimmick attached to it, the damage gets up to almost shadow super damage. The command grab has decent reach, and all versions come out in 4 frames. It's just that the different versions led to different outcomes. One would lead to okay, one would lead to a pickup, and one would lead to straight damage. So, cool thing about General Raam is that doing different command grabs had different outcomes compared to every other fighting game that goes like, oh, if you do the light version, it reach further. You do heavy version, it do more damage. This is cool. I feel like there's a lot more to the character because there's more outcomes. It's like, oh, I could go for a bit of an OTG pickup. Oh, I can go for a restand. Oh, I can go for raw Oki, or I can damage. You know, like that was the very cool thing about General Raam. There's a ton of creativity. You can tell I hate the tradition of the way grapplers are made because it's very boring, and I like the way grapplers break from this mold. It wasn't all he had in terms of command grabs. He had this armored command grab, the Krill Rush, where he'll run at the opponent and grab them, covering them in krills, and it also obviously had the armor factor. It was very slow, so you had to use this as a read on a poke or on a projectile play, but let Raam get his main gimmick started. What was the gimmick? What are these bat-like creatures flying around the opponent? And that is Krill, one of the main locust enemies from Gears of War, where, for anyone that's played the game, if you're out in the open, these little bastards would do this to you. Quite graphic, I know. In this game, they cover the enemy with a huge amount of them. They also sort of cause decay to the enemy's life bar, unlike the little bit of the health that turns white where if you get a full combo you get all the damage. This actually did damage over time if landed. This was the main gimmick about Raam that made him very different to real grapplers, is that he had a lasting effect on the opponent after his command grab. Usually it's just Oki or whatever, right? He had more of an effect on them because he was poisoning them as he was playing his game plan, and that made his throws more of a threat. Because the throws already did decent damage, you're already losing health over time, and these throws can be pretty slow. And if he had the Krill on and he landed heavy command grab, it did 25% damage straight. So if you got caught by Krill into heavy command grab, aye, quite bro. Here's the fun part, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens and in between. The instinct meter always plays into the character's gimmick insanely well. In this case, it plays into Krill. And the question is, how well does it play into it? Well, that's right, he would flood the screen with these creatures, making it harder to know if Raam was going to make an approach with armor. He also gained access to a buff version of Krill Shield, which allowed them to move with it. This move also applies Krill if it lands, so this was very scary. It's a read tool, but he can move with it. And this was pretty plus on block. This was kind of like your Garuda for all the Potemkin players out there. And it was pretty plus. However, this tool can also be dash cancel, so it was also like a focus attack. Either you'd use it for plus frames and send up Krill, or use it if feint into a command grab. Meaning there's always a way to get looped. Poor Crux with the instinct meter attached, because you were dealing so much damage with these resets, and it was very hard for your opponent to see what was happening with all these Krill activating moves. They didn't know if they should respect you, challenge you, or jump you. He also had a DP if you did the heavy version, it was full body, and depending on the other version gave you low or high body invul, whilst giving the opponent Krill. Yes, we've always got more ways to give Krill. Get your Krills here! Grappler with a DP and a poison effect. Insanity. To note his supers, he had damage dishes if he really needed all that damage. He was also blessed with the 720 command grab that came out at 0 frames, meaning he had the same thing as Thunder, but with less reach and more traditional. He also did some solid damage. If the opponent was in danger, this killed. He also had a DP super that applies Krill to the enemy, so if you needed a get off me wake up tool, you had that and you gave them Krill. The supers were key to playing them, but it was nothing busted. Besides having an iframe throw and of course a DP super that gave Krill, there wasn't anything scary here like two enders that a lot of people went for, either giving Oki or Meter. And those two enders also gave Krill to the opponent. If you needed a kill, you would do decimation every time, but 100% of the time, people were setting up Krill with Raam. So how did people make this character that was relatively low tier working tournaments? what a treat it is to watch these players. As always, I love watching history, I love watching how people played these characters in tournaments. I think my absolute favourite was watching, obviously, the twtst player Colossus. I thought he was amazing. But in this case, for me, Lethal is an amazing Raam player. He also plays Agonos. And seeing him do the stuff that he does with his character is very fun. You just see the loopage, you get to see how the character functions, and you get to see what it's like to genuinely play this difficult character at the tippy top of the gameplay ladder. The character was extremely unique. He was a bruiser that did a ton of damage and also set up a ton of poison and all that stuff. And he had a DP. He was very different for a grappler. They kept the traditional grappler approach, but gave it that twist. The twist of poison, the twist of damage over time, the twist of kinda how you ran your offensive throw structure. Because they were like, what if like the damage wasn't that crazy, but the damage over time is what added to it. That way the opponent had multiple avenues to break out of it. Obviously leading them to be lower tier. But it was a cool design for a grappler indeed. Fellas, that'll be the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe. And tell me your favorite grapplers that you want me to cover. I think that's me for Killer Instinct. I'm Killer Instinct there. But I'm going to be away at VSF. Going to be a big event. I hope you guys catch me there commentating or playing for Guilty Gear. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time. And if you guys enjoyed, like and sub, check out the membership, and check out the Kofi. It helps support me. It helps me like fund a lot of these projects. Because I'll tell you something. The job market right now is brutal. So I'll catch you at VSF. Tell me about your next grappler that you want me to see. I hope you guys have an amazing day and head to the church. See ya!